welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to Love and Action Network podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Flo. This is a space where healing meets honesty, where difficult conversations become pathways towards hope, and where we remind one another that no matter what you've lived through, you are deeply and profoundly loved and lovable. Today's guest is Sonia May Eldergill, an identity coach who helps high-achieving women reclaim themselves after years of living alongside alcoholism. After spending more than 20 years married to an alcoholic partner and now walking through 10 years of sobriety with her husband, she understands something that many people never ever talk about. Sometimes the addiction isn't the only thing that steals your life. Sometimes it's the slow disappearance of yourself. And today we're going to talk about identity, boundaries, unconditional self-love, and what it really means to come back home to yourself. Sonia, welcome to
Hi,
the
Chloe.
podcast from across
Thank you
the
so.
pond.
I'm so glad to be here. I was so excited. I was looking forward to this so much. I was like a little child in a sweet shop today.
Yes, in the sweet shop. Speaking of sweet shop, you may be able to hear you all listening over on the podcast and over on the television network. You may be able to hear a little accent in there. Let us know where you're phoning in from today.
Yeah, I'm phoning in from sunny London right now,
Yes, sunny London.
UK.
I love that we reach in our network around the whole world. You put the global in our global network, and I'm so
Oh,
grateful to know you. I call her cousin Sonia because there's a family resemblance there,
there is,
and
unmistakably.
yes, and I love you so much
Oh,
already. All right, so let's talk about your work and your story. Can you tell us first about what inspired your work?
wow, that's a big question. And I get asked that all the time. And do you know what? I love what I do. And for many years, I was living a very secret, lonely life, living with an active alcoholic. When I first met my husband, he was the light of my life, and I had no idea that his social drinking would somehow, some it just sneaked up on us over time, developed into full blown alcoholism. And those 2 decades, we raised our daughter. I was like a single parent. I lived a secret life. I had a demanding 9 to 5. I coached and mentored high performing sales teams. So I was constantly on the go and all the time showing up for work and living this secret life at home. Nobody knew. I hid my secret life from my colleagues, even family members and close friends. I was full of shame. And I spent many years focusing on my husband's addiction, which meant it was at the detriment of my own identity, my own self esteem. I fell out of love with who I was. I didn't recognize myself because focusing on him became my world and everything else didn't matter. So all of my dreams and aspirations just got put on hold. At the time, I was training to be a journalist, and that was my passion. That was my thing. I really wanted to be a journalist and to be a crime journalist. And because of my husband's addiction, I spent years looking after him, watching out for him, cleaning up his messes, losing myself in the process. And then one day, it was the catalyst that got me thinking, is this my life? Is this it? And I knew in my soul that I was meant to be somebody else. I wasn't meant to be this person who took on so many different identities, which I did. I took on the identity of his healer, his support network, his fixer. I became like a detective trying to find the truth, find how much he's actually drinking. I didn't know what I was doing. It was crazy thinking. I lost my natural mind. And one day I literally collapsed on the floor. I was cooking dinner and I just fell to the floor. And I knew that my nervous system wasn't regulated. I was living in hypervigilance, constantly having sleepless nights. And it does take a toll when you are focusing so heavily on somebody else's drinking. You become part of their world. And I went to my doctor and he told me that I was suffering from acute stress. I had to take time off work, at least 6 months to recover and heal. I went to therapy. I joined Al Anon meetings. And I think when I actually realized that my own health was suffering, that was the catalyst for me to actually come to the realization that I need to change. Something needs to change. And here I am, fast forward. I rebuilt myself piece by piece. I rebuilt my identity. I stand in my authenticity. And I've reclaimed my voice because there are many times when I never used to speak to anyone, especially at weekends. We're very lonely. And I lost my voice. I gave up having opinions. I just used to keep quiet to keep the peace a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I've restored my sanity, my serenity. My life is much more peaceful now than it was 20, even 15 years ago. My husband's now on a path of recovery. He's been sober for 10 and a half years. Now that is something to celebrate. And I am grateful every day that I don't need to focus on him anymore. The other week, he went away for a whole week with a couple of friends. They went fishing, and I didn't worry about him once. And I thought, Sonia, I looked back and I thought, look how far you've come. And focusing on myself now and and restoring all of my joy and my happiness and my passion, my purpose. I don't see that as selfishness. That saved my life, finding the road back to myself. And for anyone who's out there who feels that life is heavy, because life is heavy, that you can find joy, peace, happiness, and you don't have to look that far because the person that you want to become is already here.
Wow, what a powerful testimony and lived experience you have, Sonia.
Mm.
For someone who's out there who's never lived with alcoholism in their family, what do you think that people misunderstand the most about the alcoholism itself? And how does that addiction quietly reshape the entire household?
Yeah, they say that alcoholism is a family disease because it affected our daughter, it affected me, the whole family was affected, and the whole family dynamics was severely affected. So, for anybody who is living with an alcoholic partner or is indeed affected by somebody else's drinking, I would say to you that knowledge is power. The alcoholism, which I didn't understand initially when my husband was actively drinking, I didn't know that alcoholism is an illness and that there are different stages that an alcoholic goes through, from being an initial just social drinker, which my husband was when I first met him. We used to go out, have celebrations with friends, go down to our local pub at the weekend, but I could stop, but he couldn't. So eventually, over time, alcoholism, he was in the grips of it. And at that point, he wanted so desperately to stop drinking. Towards the end, he did in the end. But when he decided to stop drinking, he couldn't because his body needed the alcohol. And I think many of us don't understand that alcohol is the symptom of what's really going on within them, whether it be childhood wounds. My husband, after going to therapy and unpacking all of those childhood wounds that he lived through, he realized that he didn't have the confidence to feel that he was loved because he had a terrible relationship with his mother. And over time in adulthood, those wounds were never addressed. So it was always internalized. But for anybody who's living with or being affected by somebody else drinking, I would just say to you, go to an AA meeting. Go with them if they are brave enough to take the first steps to their journey of sobriety. Go to an AA meeting, hear from the horse's mouth, hear from people who are suffering, and educate yourself about what alcoholism actually is. And it's very easy to say, have a bit of compassion. I had to learn how to be empathetic. I had to learn how to show compassion, understanding, but set boundaries and make them stick for my own self-protection. And if he went into a drunken rage, of course I would call the police. I would protect myself and my daughter. Our safety was paramount. So anybody who's affected by somebody else's drinking, please, I urge you to educate yourself on what this illness actually is and show compassion. And if anyone who has a partner with an alcohol addiction, I would say, yes, and I understand that you do have anger and rage and resentments, but that can keep you stuck. I know it kept me stuck, being angry all the time. I remember walking past and seeing my own reflection. I was buying some clothes for work one day, and I was really at my lowest point at that point. And I walked past a full-length mirror, and I saw how sad I looked. I lost my smile. I couldn't find the joy in anything. I was just living. I was just existing. I was in survival mode. So anyone who's out there, resentment, just let it go. In order to start your own healing journey, it's so important to let go of the rage, let go of the anger and resentments, and learn how to forgive your partner as well. And I did exactly that. I do all of those things. I just let them go, let those emotions go. And you're able to move forward and start your own recovery journey.
You tapped on something so powerful, and I love when a light bulb goes off in my heart when I'm talking with someone like you. Powerful, powerful coach. Today we're talking to Sonia Eldergill, everybody from across the pond. We're going to get into talking about your identity coaching in a moment. However, I want to pause and give it up for forgiveness. What a
Absolutely.
powerful tool. And I would love to hear about the components of your forgiveness process and
Okay,
how you
so
got into that space, because there's so many people walking around, like you mentioned, and as we know as coaches, who are holding that seat and seed of bitterness,
mm,
and it's standing in the way from the life they want to have. And everyone's gateway into forgiveness is different. I want to hear about your approach for the listeners today.
yeah, well, I joined when I went to my first Al-Anon meeting, and Al-Anon is a wonderful organization that helps families and friends, anyone who's affected by somebody else's drinking. So I was urged by a very close friend of mine whose partner had problems with or struggled with alcohol. She introduced me to Al-Anon, and I went to Al-Anon, and they were always talking about forgiveness. And at that point, I was full of resentment. I was full of anger. I was mourning the life that I thought that I should have had. And I was mourning all of the things that I abandoned just for my husband. And that built a lot of resentment, and the trust issues. Boy, there was no trust on either side. And it was when I realized that I needed help that I got the help. And I went to Al-Anon, and I was introduced to a wonderful woman who became my sponsor. And she took me through the 12-step program, which is a wonderful program. It's a very gentle program, and it doesn't force you to do anything. It's at your own pace. And I learned over time to forgive my husband. I thought at some point I have to look him in the eyes and obviously not excuse his bad behavior and take on his consequences. No, I stopped doing that. I had to set my boundaries. But I had a conversation with him when he became sober, and we both sat and had a conversation. First time I actually sat with somebody who wasn't intoxicated. And we both decided, look, if I'm going to go on, each of us going to go on our own journey of healing and recovery, then we need to forgive. And that was the start of me putting my first step forward. And I didn't feel stuck anymore, because it can hold you back. Living in fear and resentment and having so much anger is not only detrimental to our mental health, it affects us physically, our spirituality, everything is affected. So I had to learn to forgive and to mean it. Yeah.
Ooh, not just forgiveness for the sake of the words, but heart and soul deep to
Yeah.
forgive and to mean it. Ooh, I
Hmm.
love that.
Yeah.
Ooh, she might be a preacher, y'all. She might be a preacher.
I might be.
So you use the phrase in your work. In addition to me calling you a preacher and a teacher, you also self-identify as an identity coach. And there's so many people out in the thread space, TikTok space, Instagram spaces who may be saying, and they say it to me as well, like, what is an identity coach? What is that? What is that anyway? Could you explain to us in your
Yeah, sure.
own words what that means?
Mm. Well, one of the biggest things that I realized is when my husband was actively drinking, I lost my identity. I lost who I truly was at the core soul level of me. So I, the work that I do and the women that I work with, the vast majority of them have lost themselves. They don't recognize who they are, and they want to get back to the woman who was prior to her situation. And you don't realize that you've lost yourself until you're actually come out from the situation that you're in with your partner, and you've walked through that fire and you've come out on the other side. So I am very passionate about activating women to just stop coping, just take a step back and start focusing on themselves so that they can find their way back to who they truly are. And that is the core essence of what I do. And in my coaching program, I've created a back to you reset. It's my 6-step framework that I take them through building and reclaiming their identity, their confidence, how to set boundaries that's healthy and that stick in place. We do mirror work. We talk about affirmations. We create affirmations, daily ones, and we talk about how to break the shackles of codependency. And also, lastly, we celebrate the woman that she's become.
Powerful. People everywhere today are losing themselves, and some of them are losing themselves without even realizing it. What are some of the warning signs that a person may be losing themselves?
Are you talking about in general, or somebody who's living with an addictive partner, or
We can just
it could just talk about any?
all of the messed up people here,
Yeah,
myself included.
yeah, that's a really good thing. I think in the age of AI, technology is moving at a fast pace now. I can't even keep up with AI, and I believe and strongly believe that it's so important to hang on to who you are and to use your voice, not AI, a bot voice. Be true to yourself. One of the things that I noticed with the things I note with the women I work with is one of the first things I looking back in hindsight, I can see where I lost myself, was that I lost my joy. I lost my interest in my hobbies. And I'm a big bird watcher. I've taken that back up again. I've resumed that. I love watching birds with my binoculars. I'm in the bushes. I am the David Attenborough of.
What is your favorite bird to watch?
Oh, do you know what? I love watching crows. They're highly intelligent birds,
Hmm.
but that's for another podcast, Flo. So yeah, so one of the things I noticed that I lost interest in my passion for things, my passion for my hobbies. I lost interest in myself. I fell out of love with me. And I had to learn how to practice unconditional self love. And yeah, and these days I look in the mirror and think, girl, you look snatched. High five to you. Yeah, I wouldn't have done that 10 years ago. I used to cover up all of my full length mirrors and just had small mirrors. I couldn't bear to look at myself because I didn't recognize who I was. I became this obsessive person, this control freak. I became somebody who felt that it was her business to go to the other side of the street and not keep her side of the street clean. So I was managing my husband's drinking, his behavior, everything else, his consequences, making excuses, all at the detriment of my own self care and well being. So, yeah, one of the first things I recognized was I just lost interest in all of my passions.
You talked earlier about the back to you reset, which I love.
Mm.
Could you talk a bit about the transformations that you've seen in your coaching practice that have come through from people who walk through that wonderful process with you?
Yeah. A lot of the women that I work with, I am so with them. I'm with them every step of the way. And they come to me because they've realized that they are ready to take that first step to heal. And they are sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I work with women who are ready to take that first step forward. And I see women who start off in my coaching program just really confused. She doesn't know who she is. She sees me as that beacon of hope, and I want to be that beacon of light in their lives, and taking them through my 6-step back to you reset framework. I've seen massive changes, and they come to me afterwards and say, Sonia, you saved me. And that gives me the greatest joy to hear and to see somebody who's come. And I don't like to use the word broken, because I don't see women with, or anyone living with an alcoholic, as broken. They're doing the best that they can. But I see over time that they've stopped default into those regular patterns, like being the fixer, the, the caretaker, managing expectations, but they're just living in fear of the next disaster happening. So when I see that she's come from where she started all the way through the 6 months to where she is now, it's words can't describe how that makes me feel. I've
And when
helped
people,
somebody else.
thank you so much.
Mm.
When someone comes to your 12-week program, what can they expect to experience working with you in addition to the Back to You reset?
Yeah. They can expect that I'm going to be gentle with them, but we speak hard truths. I don't dress things up. I speak truths. I try to. I keep it 100% real. And I come from a place of compassion and love, but it's tough love as well. So there's a balance that's my coaching framework. I just feel guided, and I know that I was put on this earth to help other women walk that path through to recovery themselves. And they don't have to wait for their partner to get better. You can start your journey, and you don't have to ask for permission to get going.
Whew. I'm just breathing in your love.
Mm.
We talk in I'm recovering cult of Christ and turned Buddhist, and we talk about the two wings of the Buddhist bird. One of the wings is wisdom, and the other wing is compassion.
Mm.
And I have had such a blast today drinking in your wisdom
Oh,
and
thank
your
you so much.
compassion.
Yeah,
Yeah, like,
likewise. I can feel it flowing over the
woo,
airwaves.
so good, so good, so good. We're an ocean apart, and I am
Yeah.
so enriched by your presence on the planet.
Oh, thank
Truly,
you. I
truly.
really appreciate you.
Rapid fire reflection for you. Just complete the sentence for me. Love means
Love means being true to who you are, unapologetically.
healing means
You don't have to do it all at once. Just slowly does it. It will come.
identity means
I am me, and shout the hell about it. Shout to the world about it. And don't apologize. Be you.
courage is
It can be frightening. It's fearful, but do it anyway. Feel the fear and go for it.
peace feels like
Calm.
a healthy boundary sounds like
Taking care of you and letting the other person know that you are not to be messed with.
a woman listening today needs to hear?
She needs to hear that no matter what life throws at you, you can, if you're willing to do the inner work. And I know it's there's a lot of fear, and I get you. I've been there, but fight the fear anyway, and know that you will get to the other side.
What's one thing you wish someone had told you 20 years ago?
I wish somebody had told me that I should have looked closely. I shouldn't have ignored the red flags.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And if someone feels trapped today, what's one small step that they can take today to step towards their freedom?
The power hour, I call it. Just take 1 hour out of your day, stop for everything, turn off your phone, shut your laptop down, close it, and just go for a walk. You can read a book, listen to your favorite tunes, and just spend 1 hour. You can meditate, you can journal, write all your feelings down rather than swallowing them and feeling angry. Know that focus on yourself, and that's one of the greatest gifts you can give to yourself, the power of self love.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. As we head towards this close, what's the thing that Sonia is the most hopeful about right now?
I'm hopeful that we can stop our wars, we can stop unimaginable crimes against each other. And I wish that the world, we could just live in peace and harmony and not be judged by what we look like, who we are, and just accept each other for who we are and just live in harmony and peace.
And peace.
Mm.
Let there be peace on earth and
Peace
let
on
it
earth.
begin with me.
Yes, absolutely. Amen to that.
Tell us about Renew and Rise and how people can connect with you.
Yeah. You can connect with me on Facebook. Just type in my name on the screen. Just put Sonia May Eldergill on Facebook and Instagram and on TikTok. Just type in my name and you can find me there. Would love to connect with anybody who feels guided to. Renew and Rise, you can reach out to me via socials. And if you want to know more about my one-to-one private coaching program, it's a 12-week program designed to help the woman who wants to become the woman that she truly is, to stop coping so that she can start focusing on herself to live a more thriving and fulfilled life. And that's the core of my coaching. If you want to know more about Renew and Rise, it's my one-to-one 12-week private coaching program for anyone who's ready to start healing.
We've talked about the infinite abundance that is you today and your healing process, and you're awesome. This has been a really, really juicy podcast. I'm over here getting misty in my
Oh,
eyeballs from your share. If you could leave our audience today with one message, what would it be?
life can be heavy, but just Always be true. Treat others how you want to be treated. Let's not judge each other. Let's be kind. If you can show one act of kindness every day and make it your mission to be happy every day. And I know life is tough and life can be heavy because there are people out there who will hate you for just being you. And may your light shine bright, and do not let anybody dim that light, and shout about who you are unapologetically. Be yourself, be true.
Sonia, thank you.
Thank
Your,
you.
your story reminds us that healing isn't simply about surviving difficult people, it's about rediscovering ourselves. And if today's conversation reminded you of someone who needs hope, share this episode, everyone. If you're living beside addiction, know this: you deserve peace too. You deserve joy too. You deserve to remember who you are. And as we say here in Love and Action Network, you are loved and you are deeply lovable. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah.